Hello, hello, future designers. Welcome to Design Dialogues by Mu.S.Ex, where we are shifting design perspectives and talking about architectural careers in futurist India. Today on the episode, we have a guest, architect Nitin Barchha. Allow me to introduce you to architect Nitin Barchha, a creative force in the design realm. Nitin embarked on his journey in 2002, navigating through different architectural and interior design practices in 2006. What sets him apart is his affinity for transition spaces, sparkling the birth of Material Immaterial Studio in 2015. Hope this introduction does justice to you and your journey, Nitin.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me here, and it would be a pleasure to share whatever experiences I've gathered over the last 6 years of my journey at Material Immaterial Studio. So, yeah, thanks again. Thank you for inviting.
Lovely, lovely, lovely to have you here. So we have this product of yours. It's wonderful. It's called Recast, and it's definitely something that's going to help this conversation to get started. Your journey from architecture to product design is all parts intriguing. How did that happen? What were those pivotal moments which helped you or which led that transition for you from architecture, mainstream architecture, into a product design vertical?
So, as an architect, I have always been interested in transition spaces and the in between. I've never liked to be uh, just the indoors or just the outdoors. I've always loved the idea of this thing where boundaries are taken over by folks from the other end or the other side. So that's always been my endeavor to try to get a balance into these situations, and that's where so as we move through the architectural practice, um, I was always constantly looking for ways to express that
Right.
or express that particular experience, and which is why I thought that products would be a perfect way to showcase what I feel about architecture in general, also about how I can freeze a certain experience or how I can offer a certain experience to just an observer more than somebody who's experiencing the space. So that's how we started. In fact, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but the first set of products that we made, which is spaces, were designed just for myself. Means they were never made to sell.
Yeah.
We made them just so that we could gift it to friends and family and so on. So that's the beginning of Material Immaterial really.
It's wonderful how that has now transitioned into a much loved studio where products are reaching from architects to designers to people from all different walks of life. You emphasize exploring the bare beauty of materials at Material Immaterial Studio. And for a lot of architecture students, willing and curious to explore material plays in their projects, what advice would you have? How does your experience in materials, with materials, can guide us?
Okay. So how I started, I would just I'd only be able to say from experience, from whatever I have experienced and whatever I have gone through. So I'm quite sure that that'll be quite helpful for people who are intending to enter this so-called field of product design. So to begin with, I believe that anything is possible,
Yeah.
and concrete seemed to be a material which felt more personal, something which I was more comfortable working with, and it tends to forgive you for a lot of your mistakes. And that's exactly where I said, okay, let's just explore this, which is better known to me as a material,
Right.
and then see what it can do. Also, if you recollect the name of my studio, Material Immaterial. So the name is Material is Immaterial. So it's the design which is primary and material is immaterial. The material is less important compared to the design idea. And that's where it all falls in place. Also, another thing that one needs to understand is that if your design is strong and powerful, and your idea is something that you really want to work with or really love to work with, everything else just falls in place. Material is immaterial.
How simplified this sound?
I'd say if you're into it, it is simple. If you're not totally into it, nothing is simple, right? How could it be simple if you're just brushing by it? If you're into something, that's when it makes itself available to you.
So,
But I must add here is that if this relationship, okay, where you forgive the material for what it is, okay, and work around it, and then you push it a little, and it will do what you want it to do. Okay? It's not always like if you've seen some of our products, uh, till then, till I did it, I've never experienced or never seen anybody make a 2 mm thick wall of concrete, okay, which we did make. So so concrete as a material has been extremely forgiving to us. I'd say I'd credit it to the entire effort of that we put in, or the amount of time that we gave the material, or the time that we gave ourselves to understand the material better. So I think that's extremely important. You can create the tension only once you've understood the material really well.
it's interesting how so many of your insights directly translate into like from product design to life itself. As someone who's looking to diversify careers from mainstream architecture, what kind of mindset shifts beyond the skills, mindset shifts are something that you would suggest or welcome our students and invite them to consider in order to smoothen or maybe equip themselves for the journey in beyond architecture?
So I would say that there isn't any major mindset shift that is needed. In fact, one needs to make sure that the mindset does not shift.
Very
Because this requires one to dream. How do you decide? So you've gone through 5 years of rigorous architectural education, and now you want to change what you want to do. Okay, that really requires absolute love for what you think you would like to do. Correct. And which means this brings us to the conversation about the romanticism of architecture. If you're romantic about architecture, that's when you'll find different mediums to express yourself. Okay, it's only when the practicality of architecture dawns on you and you get into the so-called reality of real architecture is when you're not able to do any of these.
right.
Correct. So if you refuse to wake up from the dream, okay, is when it becomes extremely easy for one to express themselves through different mediums and different forms of so-called architectural expression. So what I do as a product design studio is essentially architectural expression. It's not architecture though, but it is architectural expression, I would say. I would not like anybody to wake me up from this dream.
When you say that your products and your work at material and material is architectural expression, that really invites our students, our aspiring architects and designers to understand that transition does not mean leaving something behind. It is probably about carrying all of that with you into a different set of expressions. Since we're talking about how everything begins at home, you need to understand yourself. We're also talking about how romanticism needs to be in the picture. You don't need to be waking up from your dream. That all makes it heavily personal. That makes your journey personal. That makes your work very, very personal. And products are for everyone. So how does that transition happen? How does that transition from a design, being a designer's personal self-expression, translate into something that's for everyone to accept and cherish and for the wider audience?
So what I would like to say about my products, okay, they're essentially frozen memories. Okay, they're experiences. So they're experiences for people to experience, yes, okay, but they're also my experiences that I'm sharing with Keefan. And what I've noticed over the last 5-6 years that I'm uh, like more into the products is that people are not buying products. Okay, people are interested in this story, or people are interested in your expression. People are interested in what you have to offer. Okay, so that's it. It doesn't need to be for a wider audience. The minute it is for a wider audience, it may be accepted by a much more larger audience, so to say. But at the same time, it will also push you to lose out on your self expression. Then you will also lose out on people who are able to appreciate what you're doing. So that personalization has to be there. Yes. Also, how we went about doing this is that over years I've realized that initially, again, like everybody, all of us, okay, who are into just heavily into the architectural romanticism, okay, believe that they are the unique, they're just those unique individuals, and there's none other like them. Okay, but if you really have lesser filters, okay, you will find a lot of people who think like what you think, okay, and who are able to accept your expression as almost as their own expression. So I think removal of filters is what creates a wider audience, and that makes your products more acceptable. So I would say, like what I'm telling you right now, it sounds like it's more like a mental exercise than a physical exercise,
And we are back to life inside, to productive life.
but which it is. So my first product is called Spaces, and it was designed not for people. It was designed for myself. I made it and made it in a way that I could gift it to people, to family, friends, and people, and that's it. So it was like people who would recognize that it's from me, from Nitin. That's what was the mindset when we started, and that's when somebody came about and they said, "Oh, why don't we sell them?" And I was like, "Oh, are you sure people will buy?" And that's when I realized that how many people would buy. So you are not unique. At a certain point in time, yes, you need to believe that you're unique. But at the same time, when you're talking about the ability or for people to accept your products, then you have to also learn to believe that there are other people like you.
And that's a humbling experience.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And then when you meet those people through your products, it's mind blowing.
What's one of those stories? What's one of those stories of a person connecting with you, staying with you, buying all your products, and being, admiring them? Any of those stories?
Yeah. So I have like must be about 5 to 6 people across the globe who have a collection of all of my works, and I can imagine how their houses would have more of my products than my own house.
That's very
And
great.
yeah, and then so when you so I have a friend who has almost all of my products, and when you visit them, it's a totally different experience. It's like it's almost like there's no formality. They know me inside out. Okay. Okay. And it also gives me that confidence that I know that person inside out. So it's really it's essentially like somebody owning a part of you, and that makes you feel really very empowered, so to say. Yeah.
It's wonderful you use the word empowered. A bit of you is frozen in a product that people now admire as a part of their home.
Yeah.
And that's empowering.
Yep.
It sounds empowering. It must sure feel empowering.
Definitely.
We definitely feel empowered to have this as part of our set. So I definitely stand by all of those who have a collection of your products and are collectors of your products. So that's lovely. And I think the very fact that you never let your personal expression stops in your products. I think that is what invites people to build a relationship with you, with your products. Because the moment you make it technical, why would someone be interested in building those relations and bridges with you? So it all loops back in.
In fact, it also makes it my duty to to make sure that I keep constantly innovating, so that I don't lose the interest of those patrons who have been constantly, diligently following me and encouraging me.
Right. Right. That too.
I'd fail them if I would not continue to be what I am being. Yeah.
So, we were talking earlier about how one of the first days of your architecture educations, and you had professor tell you that we're going to teach you how to think. And I think a whole lot of our conversation goes back to how we think and how we feel and how we approach our design, much more than how we design. So I want to understand, how does that bridging happen? How do you continue to put the emphasis on how you think, especially when you're dealing with tangible material?
So, like, if you know how to think, okay, or at least if you know where to find the information, see, because all the information about a material is available. See, design is there within you, but all the other technical information about a material is available somewhere or the other. You're not the first person exploring concrete or metal or wood or anything as a material. The real challenge in so-called producing a product is essentially your technical understanding of the material, correct? And that's where people up really take a back seat, is that, oh, they don't understand the material, and that's going to be like a long trajectory of things that one needs to do to really understand a material. But that's not how it is. If you know how to think, you know how to find out the technicalities of a product, of a material, how to do it, everything. And if your idea is strong enough, it is going to push all the boundaries and make sure that it comes into reality.
It's a good reminder for me that something is not pushing the boundaries, then you probably need to recheck how you're thinking about it. I think it's a good reminder for all of us, because in architecture as well, so much of our time goes into making sure that our designs stand out, making sure that our designs are making a difference, creating an impact.
So the question is, stand out against what?
Stand out against. That's a very important question. Right. So yes, definitely, this is a great insight, and your journey, it reflects a rich tapestry of experiences, from architecture to product design, space planning. It's all there. It's amazing. How do you continue to manage all of these? How do you manage being in touch with all of these things? I'm sure you cherish it, so it doesn't feel like managing.
Yeah.
But what skills, or how do you do it?
So, I again, to begin with, I must say that I do very few spaces now. I don't do much architecture anymore. So, most of my focus is in the products.
But your
But
products
there-
are
there-
architecture, like
There are architecture.
fresh.
So that's exactly how I do this. Is that I love to create something, and that's what I continue to create. And so essentially, the effort or the focus is on making sure that nothing is missed out. So when I say nothing is missed out, I mean is that I always want to make sure that have I put my 100% into what I'm doing. So that's extremely important. I always keep asking this question to myself, even today. And not that I've reached anywhere great, there's still a long journey to go, and there's so much that one can do. But it's still like I have this question for myself, and I'm sure I'm going to hold on to this question forever. Is that if I have not put in my 100%, that's when things don't fall in place. And that's a perfect indicator that no, I've still not, there's still more to do. So yeah, that's how I so-called manage.
Yeah, and I think it really brings back the focus, because the moment you know that lack of 100% is equals to lack of things not falling in place, it really gives you so much control over circumstances, because it's you. So you bounce back to you figure things out, and you go back, and that same applies to product design as well. So it's beautiful how you simplify it, that give your 100%, things will fall in place if you stick to that. So we were just discussing how so much of the personal journey is reflected in your work, and how the romantic side of architecture really makes us believe that for us to connect with the community outside of architecture, and for the people outside to connect with us, we believe that we need to host these forums, we need to have those structured conversations. But then the conversations like these probably make us realize that it doesn't have to be so complicated. we can have conversations and have simple designs which invite those transitions, which invite the larger audience to understand the world of architecture. Because even though your products are an architectural expression, you have buyers who are not architects and designers.
Yes.
So, what would you say on that?
So, like whether one is an architect or no, okay, that does not stop one from liking creativity,
Yeah.
right? So that's one. And a lot of my buyers are designers of some sort, okay, but there are a lot of them who have nothing to do with the so-called professional creative side of their careers, okay. They just buy for the love of the product, that the way it is. And that brings me to this point uh, where it's quite clear that people are buying into the memories. People are buying into what the product is for. Okay, like the space, and also another thing that you'll notice is that a lot of people buy products for what they stand for. For example, a lot of people buy my products because they just like a certain space that the product represents. That's it. You uh, and a lot of my products represent impossible spaces. So those spaces people are never going to experience in reality or at a real 1:1 scale. So people buy them for that experience at that level. Like even if you when we talk about the ball games that we have, the kinetic objects, okay,
Bullseye.
yeah, the bullseye and all of those. The idea is essentially taking one through that whole entire journey of the ball. So one really experience. So it plays a lot on the mind and the entire experience, the whole pleasure that one really derives out of seeing the ball run down and do things which are almost impossible.
Almost.
Yeah. So that's what it is, So people love to collect things which are pieces of architecture, but they're essentially impossible when it comes to real life. So one really doesn't know what one is collecting.
Right.
One would like to collect an experience or means, so it's quite random, so to say. There's one may not be able to pinpoint exactly what people are buying, but it's multiple emotions which really play in place.
And I think, you used the word real 1:1 scale. Yeah. The amount of passion that you put in your products and the amount of connect that people feel to these products, I think whether or not it's a 1:1 scale, it becomes very real for whatever scale it is at. So, so I think it's a wonderful, wonderful journey of taking that 1:1 scale, toning it down for relatability and connect, and then making that scale real and real.
Yes, yes.
So it's beautiful. It's beautiful how that happens and how that maps out through your approach. So then on that wonderful note, I have something that, I feel eager to say. You talk so heavily and passionately about experience and about capturing that experience and emotion in a moment, in a moment through design, through that product. The question we had about architects create spaces, you kind of summarize how products capture emotions. So it's beautiful how वो कहता है ना जो हिंदी में हमारा बहुत ही पॉपुलर फ्रेज है कि ईंट मकान बनाता है घर इंसान बनाता है.
Yes.
So it's something like that architects may be creating those makan, but a lot of ways products are creating those ghar.
Spaces, yes.
So it's beautiful how that translates so wonderfully. And thank you for products which are making our makan ghar.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for putting it that way. I never thought of it that way. So yeah, thank you.
I'm glad to be involved in this conversation today. This was super, super intriguing, not just for me. I'm sure it was very, very interesting for all of the students listening to us. And I once again wholeheartedly express my gratitude to you for this conversation. On the final note, my last question to you would be, what impact do you wish to see in the world? And it may be through your products, through your work, or through just who you are as a person.
So I would say I'd like the world to be a more aesthetic world. a better place. So even if it means uh, by gifting, by keeping, by taking, by collecting, in whatever mannerism, but I would love the world to be a better place, and that's where I would like to really play my role in impacting the general aesthetics of how people look at things. I'd like to improvise the way people think or look at things, and that would possibly make all the difference.
All the difference.
Thank you so much for inviting me into this conversation.
Thank you so much. This was a wonderful conversation. Stay tuned for the next episode.